Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. And I also want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to say peace and blessings to those for elect, hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Alright, I'm the brother Iwalum from the GMS West Palm Beach camp. And I just want to do a quick lesson through the Spirit Prophet Yahweh Shai. It's really a land back, dealing with, the IOIC, and the quote-unquote project to break the curses, and this is something that's not of the Lord, man. The scriptures is enough, and to start this lesson off, you can't break the curses. Yahweh Shai is the one who's going to break the curses. Anybody else come to say do that exact thing, such as break the curses, they're a false prophet, or you hear on your own stead, man. Or simply just a false prophet. That's to simplify it, and whenever you hear something like that, and I'm gonna get to the scriptures, Lord willing. Whenever you hear something like that, break the curses this, break the curses that, that's what we're here to do. They're full of shit. Because, let's get it in the book of Isaiah. The scriptures are enough. The scriptures are enough. You don't need no gimmicks to break the curses. Isaiah chapter 34. I want to get a particular point out of this. Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 16. And it says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. You see? His spirit it hath gathered them. Not no project. Teaching the women how to be daughters or wives. The scriptures tell you all that, man. You don't need no outside gimmick to do these things, but these are the intentions of someone who wants to make money, someone who wants more followers. All right, and these are the intentions of somebody that don't want to follow, the game plan, so to speak, that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai set up. So therefore, they're going about to establish their own righteousness, where we've seen countless examples in the past to where you had people that wanted to bring, the nation together, so to speak, right? They wanted to free black people of their oppression. They wanted to do different things for the so-called black community, and they always ended in turmoil. Why? Because that's not the way that the Lord wanted to happen. The Lord don't want, the freedom of you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans to happen by your own will, all right, but by His. Let's get that in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. Because it was already told us that no man would redeem us from these curses, man. But Jake is still going to try to free themselves of their own will. Okay? Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68, it says, and the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And this Egypt is talking about captivity here in Babylon the Great, because we came to Babylon on ships. Okay? It's continuing on. It says, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. No man shall buy you, meaning no man is going to redeem you. Not Bishop Nate, not Martin Luther King, not Malcolm X. Who else, has risen up and fell. None of these activists is going to free you, going to redeem you from these curses, man. The only one who's going to do that is Yahweh Shai, man. All right, He is the Redeemer. All right, He is the Savior. His name literally means salvation. He's the one who's going to redeem us from these curses. You got a lot of people, once again, they want to take Yahweh Shai out of the picture. You know, you can't do that. You know, Yahweh Shai is the centerpiece of your salvation, man. You know, you can't just take him out of your picture like that. But, you know what I'm saying, these are guys that want that preeminence. They want the Lord's spot. But I always think about it like this. You want the Lord's preeminence. You want his spot, but, you know, you're not willing to go through what he went through for the nation. A lot of Israelites that want that position, that spot, they would have folded had they been in Yahweh Shai's position, you know, when he was getting ready to be delivered up for crucifixion. They would have folded, you know. But going back to the point, you know, ain't no the scriptures is enough. All right, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, for none of these shall fail, and none shall want her mate. Nothing can make to no other books can make to the scriptures, and also your own agendas, your own will cannot, you know, equate to the will of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. You know, let's get that in the book of Isaiah, you know, the 55th chapter. No, 46, Salaki. Isaiah chapter 46 and verse 10, and it says, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. You see? So the point I want to get out of that was the Lord's counsel is going to stand, not your counsel. You know? Not your way of doing things. And, you know, it vexes me in the spirit. You know, and, you know, things like this, you know, the Lord allowed to happen, but it vexes you to see, you know, especially women of the IUIC who's supposed to be the daughters of Sarah, you know, which that's just a title anyway, because, you know, you're not showing any qualities of Sarah. Sarah was a man. Sarah was a woman. All right, Sarah was a woman that feared the Lord, that feared Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. All right. The women of the IOIC, as it seems, does not fear Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. Yeah, they have the appearance. They wear the dresses, they wear the head wraps, but the fear is not there, you know. And you know, really, I don't blame them. You know, the leadership is, of course, to be blamed for the behavior, because, you know, the leadership, you know, as the Lord always referred to our people, is sheep. So you got shepherds, and the shepherds are not, you know, guiding the sheep right, man. You know? But you shouldn't have women, you know, being on video talking about we want to do a project, you know, to break the curses. You know? That makes you look even more foolish. Like, when you understand Bible prophecy, man, you know, it makes a lot of shit looks foolish. You know, a lot of things that people say, it makes you look foolish. Alright? Break the curses. Yahweh Shai is going to be the one to break the curses, man. You know? It's like I'm going to get another precept, but Jake is driving right now, so I got to keep my eyes on the road. Okay? Let's get that. In the book of Luke, chapter Luke chapter 1. Because listen, if we could have been free from the curses, we would have been free a long time ago by the things these guys have been doing. You know, setting up communities for the black community. You know, and of course, don't forget the so-called blacks, the so-called Latino Native American, you know, leaders too. You know, that so-called, you know, stepped up for, you know, their people. You know, that never worked out either, because we're all under the curses, man. We are the 12 tribes of Israel, and we're not going to break the curses, all right, by any means. Yahweh Shai is. But Luke chapter 1 and verse 68, and it says, blessed be the Lord power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. You see? And this is praise being given to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Alright? Let me say it like this to not confuse anybody, you know, that watch. This is praise being given to Yahweh are for giving us Yahweh Shai, man. This is when let me see. This is when the Lord was about to be born. Salaki. Keep my eyes on the road. I'm trying to read synonymously, man. You know, but a quick little in-transit. But this is when the Lord was about to be born and news went out. You know, hey, they praised Yahweh for giving us Yahweh Shai, because the birth of Yahweh Shai meant a lot to the nation of Israel. You know, him being born meant a lot. So they said once again, blessed be the Lord power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. You see? How did he visit and redeem his people? By sending his only begotten son. You know, once again, there goes Yahweh, the meaning of Yahweh Shai's name. Our Redeemer. Alright? He is a deliverer, or he is a redeemer. You know, it's all synonymous. Verse 69 says, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. You see? He hath raised up an horn of salvation in the house of his servant David. That horn of salvation is talking about Yahushua, man. Alright, because the nation of Israel, whether it be the 1/3, 2/3, they're all going to be, cleansed. Alright, when Yahushua return. Of course, the 1/3, the remnant, is going to be delivered, when the Lord return, beamed up in the chariots. The 2/3, alright, the 2/3 are going to die here in Babylon the Great, and they're going to come back in the kingdom as newborn babes. But regardless, they're going to come back righteous, and all Israel shall be saved, as it is written. It says, verse 70, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. You see, and if you're a servant or prophet of the Lord, this is what you would be preaching. All right, that's what will separate the real from the fake. Is that the real is not going to be speaking of no worldly way of, getting salvation. Different. The Lord will give you different things, money, good living situation, but we understand that that's not salvation. We're not good until we're free from these curses. Because let's say you got a lot of money, or you got a lot of fame or whatever, you're still subject to death. Are you still subject to ailments? You're still subject, to get injuries. You're not free. All right. Verse 71, it says that we shall be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. You see? From all that hate us. So it said, no, you quote unquote break the curses by teaching the daughters of Zion through that project or whatever. You still got enemies that hate us, that hate our guts. All right, beginning with Esau, the so-called white people. They hate us. There ain't nothing you can do, alright, that's going to change that hatred, man. Because when you read the scriptures, alright, the conclusion that the Lord is gonna do is put them in slavery, alright, and do away with them. That's how the earth is gonna find peace. And so, recap, until the Yahweh shall return, we're gonna continue being under the curses. Until Yahweh shall return, Esau is gonna continue polluting the earth. Esau is gonna continue to oppress us, man. So, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying to those that watched. I like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. I like to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to those who elect, hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Until next time, I say shalom.